Welcome back to the Vital Mentality podcast. I'm your host, Angel Munro. We're talking all things health and wellness. We're looking at ways to live a vital life. Short disclaimer, this is not intended as medical advice. This is just for general purposes only. So this week we're looking at sunscreen, and the role of melanin. And we'll look at some solutions in terms of protecting ourselves from the sun. I really wanted to do this as soon as possible because in Melbourne we are heading into summer next month, and if you're not using sunscreen all the time, you can't just rush into the sun if you've been indoors all year round with no adaptation. So we're going to talk about how that all works today. And I think there's so much confusion now because people have always been told that sunscreen is really important and you need to be covered up all the time and the sun's going to kill you. And now it's coming out that a lot of sunscreens are actually very toxic. They also cause cancer. And I think that sometimes there's these snippets of information without context. So we're going to give some context today. So melanin, which gives your body the tan, has more of a role than just adding color to your skin. It regulates appetite, metabolism, hormones, cortisol. This study that I'll link also talks about it being anti-inflammatory. But from my point of view, inflammation doesn't just come around the corner and get you. There is a cause for the inflammation in the first place. And it seems that sun seems to have a protective role in our tissues. It gives us a charge, a measurable charge. Infrared light does, which feeds our mitochondria. And so I think a lack of sun causes cell and tissue damage, which is why it seems that the sun is anti-inflammatory, but it's actually protective in the first place, to prevent that inflammation from even occurring. I think that's an important point to make. So we need all light forms, and in modern living, we spend a lot of time indoors under artificial light, and that greatly inhibits our body's ability to deal with seasonal changes because we're not getting that adaptation that I was speaking about. And I think it's really important as we go further into modern living to understand the fundamentals of what the body needs, because the body is built perfectly to assimilate nature. And when we separate from that is when a lot of illness occurs. And because we're going into further and further into modern living, if we have awareness, we can change our behavior in ways where we're still supporting ourselves, without going back to the caves. So we need all light. We need UVA, stimulates nitric oxide, releases melanin and disperses melanin in the body and helps our body to tan, basically. And like I said before, that melanin is really essential for all kinds of mechanisms in the body and is protective to our whole system and actually keeps us going. So so we need UVA light for melanin. We need UVB for vitamin D synthesis and for longer term melanin production. And we also need red and infrared light. So all the different spectrums of light that we get from the sun is super essential. It supports mitochondrial health. Like I said, mitochondria need the sun. And it prepares our mitochondria to actually deal with seasonal changes. So basically, the more natural light that we're exposed to, starting from the morning, the more protected we are from the sun. So it's not just about being in the sun, it's about getting the spectrums of light all through the day. So Glass blocks it out, and artificial light plays with our body's kind of natural circadian rhythm in terms of processing light. So getting morning light, opening a door or a window in your office, opening the windows and the sunroofs in your car, just having, not even if you can't physically be in the sun, making sure that natural sunlight is coming into your environment as much as possible is really imperative to how we'll deal with the sun when we're in the full sun. Yeah, super important. So in terms of vitamin D, I forgot to say that also UVA and UVB activates our neural pathways. So it's just so important that we have access to these different light forms because it regulates the thyroid, the pituitary, and the adrenal system. So there's so much more going on. And, you know, when you start to look at this information, you can see how short-sighted it is, you know, trying to protect ourselves from the sun, which it is literally giving us life. Vitamin D and cancer, we'll talk about that a little bit. I just want to start off by saying with vitamin D, it's not really a vitamin, it's more of a hormone that your body makes with cholesterol and fats from food, so things like vitamin A and you know, think butter, eggs, you know, those kind of fats that we get from our diet. And we make we make a certain amount of cholesterol as well, also another thing we've been told is bad. So those good fats and sun exposure make vitamin D, and it's more of a hormone. And when you go to the doctor and you get a vitamin D test, what they're showing is basically a marker saying that you were in the sun, how long you were in the sun for. It cannot be replaced with a pill or a liquid or however it is you might take your vitamin D. It is so much evidence coming out now that it's, you know, such a pretty useless intervention. And another practitioner academic who's also Australian, Daniel Reuters, he gave a really good analogy, and hopefully I'm not going to butcher it, but he was saying basically if you get a wood fire and it's, you know, warm and beautiful and you get, you know, infrared and all these things from the fire, and then it burns out and you're left with ash. And that ash is exactly the same as vitamin D when you test your blood. It's not going to give you warmth. It's not going to give you infrared. It's just telling you that it was there. So when they manufacture it, they're basically just manufacturing this ash. It's not going to be able to do the things for you that the sun will. So it's really important to note that when I'm talking about vitamin D, I'm not talking about lab-made vitamin D. I'm talking about the sun's effect on the body and what that then does for the body. So, yeah, it's known that sunscreens, I'm not going to get into all of the different poisons that are in sunscreens. I think that's easy to work out now. Most people know that they disrupt the endocrine system and they can cause cancer. But they also block vitamin D. And this is a really important point because everyone knows that we need vitamin D for our immune system, and, you know, long-term health, metabolism, all kinds of things. But it's really important in the reduction of cancer. And this is one of the reasons why, even though people have been using sunscreen, melanoma has gone up because people are not producing vitamin D and we need it. It's so protective. People with low vitamin D, they've got an increased risk of melanoma, increased risk of progression of the melanoma, like bigger tumors, like basically all of the worst outcomes happen when you have low vitamin D, which you can only get from the sun. And it's exactly what sunscreen is blocking. So just to recap, we're not just talking about the poisons that are in the sunscreen. We're blocking melanin, which we've just said is protective and has all of these different roles in the body, and we're blocking vitamin D, another thing that is protective and actually keeps our cells from breaking down, causing waste, and then causing cancer, basically. So yeah, very, very important. It's 50 plus years of sunscreen promotion. Melanoma has increased, and especially in indoor working populations. So important to be outside. It's interesting to note that legally sunscreen is classified as a drug in America, and in Australia it's pretty much the same thing. It's classified as a therapeutic. And I guess that makes sense when you see what a massive biological effect it has, far-reaching biological effect it has, and none of it is good, in my opinion. Yeah. So, I think I mentioned that before, that a lot of these chemicals are now being pulled off the shelf, and lots of studies have found that the sunscreens far exceed the daily allowance of toxins that we should have. So yeah, it's really best to avoid them, in my opinion. So what do you do? Because like I said, you can't just all of a sudden you've been avoiding the sun for years. You've got quite pale skin, and you may not have a supportive diet, and all of a sudden you're going to say, okay, sunscreen's bad for me, I'm going to go into the sun and just go for it. And that's not great either. You shouldn't be getting burnt, for sure. But there's a way to, the word again, adapt. We need to support the body so it can do the right adaptation through the seasons. So we'll go through solutions. Like I said before, we need good fats in our diet. Think butter, liver, which I don't really eat personally, but I do sell the liver capsules on my website. Organic, grass-fed, and I happily take that. I'm a lifelong vegetarian, so I don't have a problem with eating liver. It's just not something that I've done. But yeah, so liver, butter, egg yolks, and also eating seasonal food. Food is perfectly designed to support us through the seasons, and all of the food that comes in summer, has, like, think of tomato, has lycopene. It's protective against the sun. Watermelon, like all of these foods are protective. So as long as we eat food that's local and seasonal, it's got exactly the right light information to protect us for the light at that time. And yeah, I don't think people have to be too complicated. Eat local, eat seasonal, include fats, and avoid processed fats. So think seed oils like sunflower oil, soy, canola. They're the worst ones. Avoid those. You're not going to avoid them all the time. Avoid them as much as possible. They damage the cell and create oxidative stress and do not protect us against the sun. They actually increase our likelihood of burning. I mentioned before, morning light is really important. It sets up our circadian rhythm for the day, and it primes our skin to get ready for the sun, basically. Now, most people will go and grab for their phone in the morning. I sometimes do that too, but the best thing you can do is go outside first. Um, and even if you want to have a lazy morning and look at a screen or look at your phone, have a door open. Get some morning light first. Have a door open. If you're going to rush off to work, open a window. Make sure that your eyes are getting some sunrise, because this is going to set your body up to process the sun. There's always a way to get a little bit, and even if it's 5 or 10 minutes, then yeah, that's enough. Morning light, I think I said before, it's like kicks off your circadian rhythm. It helps you regulate all your hormones. Like the mother hormone, pregnenolone, is stimulated with morning light in the morning. So, not only is it helping you to process sun, but in terms of protecting yourself from being burned, but it basically sets up every single system in the body. So, yeah, especially your hormonal and metabolism. So it's really, really important. It's really like a non-negotiable. I I was never a big exerciser as a kid. I liked hanging out with friends, and yeah, I never exercised. But I think it's been the last, I don't know, maybe nearly 10 years now that I've exercised pretty much every day. I used to be so pale my whole life. I burnt really easily. And I now very rarely burn, very rarely put any sunscreen or anything on my skin. I definitely have improved my fat ratios, like I was saying before, less seed oils and more animal fats, good fats. And I think that combined with exercising every day outside, and I know that people like doing things like gym and Pilates, and I get it, but like I was talking about before, we do live in such a modern world, and it's very tricky to get a lot of time outside, if you're working all day and then exercising inside. And I know for me, if I spend an hour outdoor moving my body, whether it's swimming or running, or I even sometimes do weight resistance stuff, and even with a friend one day a week do weights in the park. So you can work around it. The positive, apart from just, like I said, that you get sun exposure all year round, the other thing is that you don't often heat up enough even to expose any skin in winter, or not where I am anyway. So it means that I'm getting the sun on my skin all year round. The other things that are kind of a little bit unrelated but non-negotiable for me is also grounding. So getting bare feet on the earth. And yeah, for me, that's the best way that I can fit it all in a busy life, is to do the exercising outside. I get sun, I get grounding, I get movement. It's all done in half an hour to an hour, and I get to get on with my day. I basically have like a color all year round now, which is wild. I was really, really pale. So yeah, hot tip from me. Um, in terms of moisturizers, a lot actually do have sunscreen in them. But it's not just the sunscreen that can block vitamin D, it's other ingredients. And if there's chemicals, they can kind of disrupt your hormone signaling. And like I've kind of described, that's all intertwined. So really is important to be using natural things on your face if you're going to use anything at all. It should just be like a natural oil. There's so many products on the market that say they're natural and they're not. And I cannot stress this enough. And I'm so picky with what goes on my shop, and the range is small because there is literally only so many things. Yeah, so what you're putting on your skin is really, really important. And the more chemicals you put on your skin, the more that's going to interrupt your hormone signaling and interrupt the way that your body is taking in light. So it's a really important one. Sleep is also really important. We need to get enough light during the day so we can actually, our circadian rhythms working well enough that we can get a solid sleep. And if we don't get a solid sleep, the melatonin actually protects our cells from damage from the sun. So it's this cyclic kind of loop that, if you're not getting proper night's sleep naturally, you really need to get to the bottom of what's going on, because we need melatonin, so we're protecting ourselves, and we need light, so we're actually getting enough sleep. So, and one of the reasons why people don't get a good night's sleep is because they've probably got too much artificial light and not enough natural light. It's a really, really big part of the picture, not the only part, but a huge part. So if you do need to use sunscreen, I generally don't use it anymore, and I don't burn. But sometimes if, say, I do like a couple of times a year, I might do a big beach day, I would use the most kind of non-toxic sunscreen that I could find. And like I said, there's, having a look. I've been having a really thorough look for a good sunscreen, and there really isn't such thing as a completely natural sunscreen, to be honest. Zinc oxide is the active ingredient that's in a lot of natural sunscreens. I did a whole podcast on zinc, and I'll put that link in the show notes, but zinc oxide is chemically extracted. So even from there, it's not completely natural. Nano zinc, which is in a lot of sunscreens, especially the bad ones from the chemist, that is actually quite bad for the neurological system, also bad for the reef. And conventional sunscreens are bad for the reef. I forgot to mention too that the conventional sunscreens, or the chemicals in them, they not only they're bad for sea life, but if you go put that on into a pool with chlorine, you get even worse chemicals that from them interacting with each other. So nano zinc oxide is really not good. Non-nano zinc oxide is okay in terms of on us, but like I said, there's still a chemical extraction that's happened to get it to that place. So, some people don't want to use it at all if they're being really, really natural. But I do think that sometimes, a couple of times a year, you might spend all day in the sun and you might really need some kind of protection. And I find often if I go to another state or another environment, my chance of burning goes up, because my body and my cells are not prepared for that UV, and it takes a few days or a week before the body starts to adjust to that new light system that's going on. So I actually did get a zinc sunscreen on the website after looking far and wide, and it just has some natural oils, some essential oils, and 20% non-nanoparticle uncoated zinc oxide, and it's a really beautiful kind of orange looking oil. And because you find with a lot of zincs, they can be really zinc sunscreens, they can be really thick and white and leave you a bit white. It does have a tiny little sheen to it, but it's doesn't make you look like a ghost. So definitely go on to the website and have a look at that. I've had to import it from Canada. There was no Australian brands that I found that were good. They had, what did they have in them? Some had aluminium, vitamin E, which is synthetic vitamin E is pretty toxic. It's made, I wouldn't take it, or I don't want to put it on me. Vitamin E from food is one thing. Vitamin E man-made is another. It's usually made from soybean, sunflower, and canola oil. Like I said, those oils are actually really inflammatory. They damage the cells, and they inhibit our protection from the sun. And it is in a lot of these natural sunscreens. Even tallow sunscreens I've seen has vitamin E in it, which kind of defeats the purpose, because the idea of using tallow is that it's protective. And then you get these seed oils in there via the vitamin E, and it's kind of undoing the work that the tallow's doing. So what else did I see? Oh, hexane is also an endocrine disruptor, which is used in the production of vitamin E. So I couldn't find one that didn't have an ingredient. One Australian sunscreen that didn't have an ingredient that wasn't great. But again, like if you're using it a couple of times a year, maybe it's not that big a deal. And you shouldn't use, really, from all of the things that I was saying, doesn't matter how natural the sunscreen is, if you're blocking the UV, you're going to be interrupting vitamin D, and you're not going to be protecting yourself. So like I said, it's all of these things, making sure that you're getting sleep, you're getting the right foods, you're getting morning light, and your body is subjected to the sun in small doses, 15 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, slowly, gradually building it up, building that melanin. Melanin is called, some people call it a skin callus. So basically a tan is like a callus, a protector from the sun. So the more you develop that skin callus over time, the safer you are. And so definitely, if you're out in the sun, try and get shade, wear hats and clothing and all the things to protect yourself, but making sure that you're getting small amounts where all of your skin is exposed and you're getting some sun. And that's the best way to do it. Not burning, slow exposure all year round. And then you'll be fine. So there's some other oils that protect people, for people who don't want to use zinc at all. There's a study done where they tested a whole lot of natural oils to see what the SPF was. So coconut oil and olive oil have a SPF of 8. Peppermint essential oil has one of 7. Castor oil is 6. Almond oil is 5. Orange oil is 4. Mustard oil is 3. So is eucalyptus. Sesame oil and tea tree oil is 2. And rose essential oil is 1. So it's interesting. The zinc oil that I have, they actually don't classify it as a sunscreen, because they haven't made a drug. Like I said, sunscreens are usually considered a drug, but it's got 20% zinc, and it's got some of these oils in it. So I can't remember. I think they said the zinc in that formula constitutes maybe an SPF of like 10 to 15. But then if you factor in that it's got some of these oils, maybe it's like a 20. Anyway, I haven't got a chance to use it yet, but all of the reviews are really good. Actually, I'm just trying to remember. This one is from Canada. So what else did I want to say? I think I've pretty much covered everything. Oh, actually, 15 to 25% zinc oxide gives you. So basically the solutions are, make sure your circadian rhythm's working well, i.e. being out in the sun, sleeping with no lights on, no phones in your room. Make sure that you're eating food that's in season and non-inflammatory foods. Make sure that you spend enough time outside, and make sure that you're slowly and safely developing that skin callus. That is going to protect you, that bit of tan. It's all about adaptation, safe adaptation. thanks for listening. I think we got through it all, and I look forward to talking with you next time. Bye.